Our meeting tonight is now open for sharing testimonies of healing through Christian Science. Tom from Iowa, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Craig, for those readings tonight. I am grateful tonight for the definition of fan from the glossary on page 586 of Science and Health with Keys of Scriptures by Mary Baker Eddy. Fan is defined as separator of fable from fact, that which gives action to thought. I used this last night during the watch and after the watch and was able to feel God healing me of some tooth and gum pain. I am very grateful for learning something as simple as this for the church watches where we work and pray for all the world and all mankind. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you. Allison from Massachusetts, go ahead.
This last year, my son had a beautiful healing of all symptoms of autism. He has reached so many new milestones. I was hoping that my son would get an award during his 8th grade graduation. But he wasn't, and there was one award called the President's Award. When I didn't see his name, I felt disappointed, but if I was being honest with myself, mortal mind was really seeking validation and approval for my son and trying to hypnotize me and somehow blame myself. I had to humble myself and remember that God is the only healer and the only real parent of my son. And therefore, because it is God, he could only be good and perfect. An error was just trying to fool me, and I was so grateful I caught it. I will give gratitude for the rest of my life for the healing example God demonstrated for my son during this past year, thanks to the support of my practitioner and this amazing church in Divine Science. He had his best year academically, socially at school, with teachers and his peers, and even grew with responsibilities at home. He was even voted most improved in his basketball team. So I'm so proud of him. I wake up most mornings with a smile of such gratitude for the healing that I received. And I thought about it, and I thought, well, my son didn't receive an award at the school, but he did receive the King's Award, which is the highest demonstration of God's beautiful qualities, glorifying God's good substance and truth. I know at this very moment that my son is already complete and whole, and I will never seek validation in the mortal world again, but yet I will seek first the kingdom of heaven for all things in my life. Thank you.
Thank you. From Patricia from New York, go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to say that a couple of days ago, I got up and it seemed that my balance was off. So anyway, I did some work on my own, and then I decided to call my practitioner. And I told her that I was very upset about my husband because I thought a lot of work needed to be done in the house, and it wasn't getting done. So she said, it seems that you're angry. And that's true, I was angry. So she told me to read Christian Science Christian Science Protective Work by Bicknell Young. And she said also that I should love more. So anyway, I did, and I worked on that. And then a thought came to me and said, now, you know what? Why don't you try to get up and see if you can balance yourself? And then I caught myself. He said, I don't think I'm asking Matter if this is working. And I said, that's not right. That's not true. Then another thought came to me, well, you have an appointment, and I think you better cancel that appointment. And I said, wait 1 second. I'm malpracticing myself. So anyway, the next morning I get up, and I was perfectly fine. So I'm very happy about this. I'm very grateful to church. I'm grateful for my practitioner. I'm grateful to God, Mary Baker Eddy, Christ Jesus, and all the workers at Plainfield. Thank you.
Thank you. Elizabeth from New Hampshire, go ahead.
Good evening, and thank you for those very beautiful readings tonight. I just love The New Birth by Mary Mary Baker Eddy is so genius and beautiful. I would love to express my gratitude tonight for the Plainfield Bible studies. Recently, in preparation for the Bible study 2 weeks ago on Paul's conversion, I was listening to an archived Bible study on Paul in the middle of the night. I was suddenly aware of a very fierce storm outside with thunder and lightning and heavy wind. The Bible study, meanwhile, was going into the account of Paul being on a ship during a severe storm, and this allayed my fear completely. It was just so amazing. Meanwhile, I realized that I had not been on my guard to allow this weather in the first place, and I began to know what is true about the weather, that God is governing all, and that includes the weather, that we can only allow in our thought for God's gentle breezes and gentle rain. Nothing that is violent is real or true. Within a very short time, the storm subsided, as I often have seen. And although several people that I spoke with the next day from nearby areas mentioned how the storm had gone on for many hours during the previous night, I'm just so grateful for this practical Christian Science that we learn here, and thank you all for everything that you do to further that. Thank you and good night.
Thank you. Christina from Mexico, go ahead.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Thank you for the readings, the hymns, and the music. 6 months ago, there were some movements at my work. My office mate was moved to another room, and another colleague came with me to share the office. From the beginning, it was clear that she was not happy with the change. In general, she was not very nice to me. So, from the beginning, I started praying, not to personalize the error, and above all, not to fall into the trap of the animal magnetism of giving life to the hostility that was being presented to me through this person. Every day was a test for me, to see her as the perfect child of God and as a blessing for me. Some days it got better, but others it didn't. Besides, this lady has a tendency to criticize everything, so I decided to concentrate on my work and not talk to her too much. There were moments that I planned how to be removed to another place, but I realized that first of all I had something to learn in this situation, demand the blessing, and also to recognize my place in God. Besides, I didn't have to run away from anyone anywhere. Divine love fills all the space, so I had to be patient and let God adjust everything. I asked the practitioner for support because deep in my heart I felt that this colleague and I didn't belong together in an office, but I was totally disposed to yield my will under God's will. Finally, one day, somebody quit his job and left his office available. So my coworker herself asked my boss to move her to this place, and thank God she was granted. I just thank God and His Christ so much because He is in charge of everything. But the most wonderful thing is that a few days after she left the office, I met her in the lobby at work, and then she came to me and greeted me with a kiss and a big smile. Now, when we sometimes join together in some meetings at work, we can see each other and greet each other without any bad feeling. So, this work was completed in love. Love your enemies or you will never lose them, says Mrs. Eddy. In the past, I had a similar situation with another colleague and things went very wrong. But now I had the opportunity to overcome the test, trust in God. as we read in the Bible, "Be still and know that I am God." Another blessing is that I stayed in the office by myself, which is a very good place with a lovely view, and I have decorated in the way I like it. And now I can enjoy a lot of peace and pray at different moments during the day. God makes everything complete and perfect. I'm so grateful for all the lessons this experience left me and for the metaphysical support of the beloved practitioner. What a blessing to have a holy practitioner in my life. I'm very grateful for Christian Science and for Mary Baker Eddy, and for everything I'm learning here at Plainfield. Thank you.
Thank you. Imogene from Australia, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for this beautiful testimony meeting. Tonight, I would like to thank our dearest Father, Mother God for giving us Christian Science and for giving us this beautiful, independent Christian Science church. It truly is a joy each day to learn more about God and how to practice the divine science of our dear forever leader, Mary Baker Eddy. It is a great blessing to be a member of this church. Our holy practitioner at this church recently sent me a virtual tour of the Longyear Museum so I could view online and tour the Chestnut Hill home of Mary Baker Eddy. What struck me was the great and powerful love conveyed in each room. The beloved rose motif featuring in wallpapers, rugs and fabrics. The blush colours depicting love throughout every room and hallway. And it hit me very powerfully that I was looking at a representation of the mental construct of God's love. All the artwork and items depicted scenes from the Bible. In Mrs. Eddy's private bedroom was a portrait of Daniel in the lion's den, and at the top of the stairs, a magnificent painting that stood over 6 feet tall, entitled Revelation. The angel with the little book open to the light of the divine word. I felt extremely touched by this. I felt the love that was intended in this. And as I watched, I actually found myself starting to weep as this love flowed over me. I was looking at a home furnished by divine love. The same divine love one feels throughout all of the holy writings of Mary Baker Eddy. I recognised it and it caused me to cry with purest love. And in my readings, I also came across a beautiful piece written by Edward Kimball. I've shared it before, but it's so beautiful. He speaks about the divine impact that Mrs. Eddy's teachings and her example had upon him. He writes, quote, "I never knew one who was more just, loving and humble than Mrs. Eddy. I never knew one who seemed more intense on knowing the will of God or more glad and satisfied to do that will. I never knew one who was more honest, more charitable, more wise, or more kind, who many years of consecrated Christian experience have ripened into godly reverence and devotion for the life which is in imitation of Christ, whose chief ambition seems to be to battle against sin and disease, and to continue without reproach before God and man. Some day the world will know all this and render tardy justice. And meanwhile, the tender, loving woman knows that more than 1 million people, many of whom were dying, who have been rescued from unspeakable depths, are giving thanks because she has been faithful." End quote. So tonight I do thank our dearest Father, Mother, God, our All-Father. I am very grateful for Christian Science. It is the joy of my life. I am very grateful for this precious, independent Christian Science church that is so full of precious ways to learn and practice Christian Science and to touch a little more each day that pure, divine love of God as revealed by the blessed and holy Mary Baker Eddy. Thank you all so much, and so much love to you all.
Thank you. Sylvia from Australia, go ahead.
Good evening, and thank you for the readings and the lovely testimonies. From last week's Bible lesson, I have found a newfound appreciation of Paul. I used to admire mainly the apostles, but this lesson has opened my eyes to the enormity of Paul's contribution to the advancement of Jesus' teachings. I much more appreciate the magnitude of his conversion than I previously did when reading excerpts about his story in the Bible. It is clear why God chose him. He was educated by the best, he was highly literate and articulate, and had a zealous nature. It is amazing how he straightway grasped the science that Jesus taught without ever having met him. He also understood the concepts of this science so deeply as to write and speak about them very eloquently and persuasively. After doing some investigation, I learned that the following books are attributable to Paul: Acts, Galatians, 1 and 2 Thessalonians, 1 and 2 Corinthians, Romans, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, Philemon, Titus, and 1 and 2 Timothy. That's a big chunk of the Bible. Also, if anyone has been able to put into practice the instruction, God requireth that which is past, it was Paul. What a great example he is to us all. I am very grateful to be able to utilize all that Plainfield offers, including the Bible lessons. These improve my understanding of this wonderful science, which stands so far apart and above other human perspectives of the Bible. Thank you.
Thank you. Izzy from England, go ahead.
Good evening. I would like to give thanks for something that happened a couple of months ago on a very warm Saturday afternoon. We've had rather a heat wave here in England, and this was probably the first day that it was really surprisingly hot. I spent the afternoon with the 2 children that we look after up at the ponies field, teaching them to ride. After some hours, we drove back to the house, ready for a cool drink and a sit down. As I parked the car, the children ran into the house, and I gathered my things together, including my phone, which I had left in the car and had not looked at for some time. To my surprise, the screen was full of messages from different people trying to get hold of me to tell me that one of my sheep was in a bad way. I immediately called the children, we jumped back in the car and drove to the sheep's field. It was a few weeks before lambing time, and I knew that heavily pregnant ewes with very full, thick fleeces would be feeling this heat more than anyone. All the way there, I declared out loud whatever truths came to me. God is governing. There is nothing going on but good. The sheep are perfect reflections of God. The sheep are God's perfect children. They cannot be touched by error. And whatever else I could think of. I was aware at the time that the children were with me, and I was very glad that they were able to witness this response to a claim of error. In fact, the youngest child started to join in with me. We got to the field, and one of my girls was next to the gate, flat on her side. I got her to her feet, and we got her into a pen, while we checked the other sheep, which all seemed to be fine. Then we drove back to the house, filled some water containers and some bits and pieces, and then went straight back to the field. The ewe drank 2 buckets of water, and I gave her a mineral drench, all the time knowing as hard as I could that there is no imbalance or lack in God. She made a really good recovery, and about a month later, she had 2 beautiful lambs, Esther and Abigail. I'm so grateful for everything that worked out. I believe the ewe came looking for help, but I wasn't around, and the dear lady who lives near the field and keeps watch over them for me was also away. But by chance, her son called in to do some work. He spotted the ewe and actually came looking for me, knocking at my door, although of course I wasn't in. If he had not seen her, it would have been several more hours before I called in to check on them. So I was so grateful for this. I was also really grateful that the children were able to witness my reaction to this and were able to see that good outcome. And later we talked through how God was clearly governing the entire incident. I try to share the amazingness of Christian Science teachings with children as much as possible, and often talk about leaving things in God's care and giving thanks for God's love and protection. I try to make it as practical as possible so that they can see how I put Christian Science into my daily life, just without a second thought, really. And although these two children, their household is not in any way open to religion, I do hope that the truths that I share and what they are able to witness will filter through. I'm so grateful for all of God's goodness and for the opportunity that He has given me to share my life with these dear children and with a little flock of sheep, and all the fun, joy and challenges they have brought and continue to bring, enabling me to practice what I am learning. And I'm so grateful for what I am learning in Christian Science, which gives clear instructions on the only way to approach life's challenges. Thank you so much for everything that goes on at the Plainfield Christian Science Church Independent, and for this beautiful meeting tonight. It is an honour to be a small part of this movement. Good night.
Thank you. Andrea from Idaho, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to express my gratitude for Plainfield Independent. When I originally came to this church, which is about a little over 2 years ago now, and started listening to the different lectures that were available on the website and all the other articles that are there, I was looking for a more palatable sense of God's presence. I had been studying Christian Science for about 12 years when I changed direction and transitioned to the Plainfield Independent Church. And I had a sense that I had an intellectual understanding of God, but I didn't seem to have I didn't have this sense that He really is with me all the time. And that's what I was looking for. I have found so many articles while here that have expanded and grown that sense of God's presence in my life, God with me all the time, inseparable, God and man, and what that means, all the implications connected to that idea, to that truth. And recently I recognized a healing that was very significant in my life that really was my first step on this journey of knowing God with me. I had, from the time I was 17 to about 40, I had a string of very unhealthy relationships, bad marriages, financial ruin. I had a mate commit suicide. It was a long string of very negative experiences. And I incidentally also liked to listen to music. Certain musicians had a really good way of expressing this yearning, this overall discouragement or disappointment, should we say, with the material, the mortal experience, the temporary experience, this mortal human experience. And I identified with what those songs said. And it was probably about 25 years ago, there was an angel voice that came to me while I was listening to music. I remember it very specifically. I was driving down the road listening to one of those singers, beautiful, sad songs, and singing along with it. And this angel thought came to me that said that all this that I'm looking for in relationships, in a relationship with another human being, security, love, acceptance, belonging, dependability, value, a place, all these things that I'm looking for are actually found in God. not in another human being. And it was like a profound thought to me at the time, that all this yearning in this music of looking for another soul that matches you in this world was really about looking for God. Was really about that's where your relationship really is. And it was a profound realization to me that it didn't go away. It didn't go away. It kept coming back every time I would listen to music, to where, well, it ruins listening to that kind of music, to be honest with you, which was probably the best thing that ever happened to me, along with the fact that I realized that I was looking for a relationship with God. That's where I found all of that. And over a 25-year journey since then, I have really found that. I am finding that and feeling that on a very deep level in my being, or in God's being, which are inseparable as I am learning and feeling. And I wanted to express my gratitude for that. It was a very significant angel thought that came to me, and probably, in fact, supported by all the prayers my grandmother so faithfully gave me over the years, hoping that my life would pull up out of plane wrecks, and how grateful I am for that sweet message that changed the direction of my life and brought me to now. Anyway, thank you very much for all the Plainfield Independent Church offers. The Bible lessons have been absolutely awesome and very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Gary.
I thank God that our church services are so full of love, so full of the truth, that they heal. The early Christian church, after Jesus left us for many decades, for many centuries actually, was a place where people would go and be healed of things that they needed to be healed of. And I'm so grateful that Mary Baker Eddy discovered the science of Christianity, which brings back the healing that was part of the original Christian church. I remember a little earlier this year, one afternoon, my throat became very sore, and it was a Wednesday afternoon, and before the church service, I completely lost my voice. And there was a statement in that week's lesson in Science and Health that was very helpful to me. Mrs. Eddy writes, "Discords have no support from nature or divine law." So I remember thinking to myself that this soreness has no support from nature or divine law, and I therefore didn't have to have it. And I kept repeating that to myself until I really meant it. And that evening I attended the service in this church, and I have to say, it was so uplifting. I needed what was given in that service. I could really feel God's presence and love. And during the service, I was able to participate. And by the end of the service, my throat was completely healed, and I was able to sing loud and clear. So I'm very grateful for this healing, very grateful for Christian Science, for Christ Jesus, for giving us Christianity, and for Mary Baker Eddy for discovering the science of Christianity, which is available to all mankind, all of God's children, everywhere. And I thank God for the healing sermons that we have, and for all that I am learning here.
Thank you. Mishaela from Canada, go ahead.
2.5 years ago, I had discovered a rough edge on one of my crowns on a tooth. When I showed it to the dentist, he said the crown is at the end of its lifetime and needs to be renewed or replaced. He said also that bacteria could get in there and only an X-ray would show if the tooth is affected. I said I would get back to him. Then I worked with my practitioner, and she recommended working with a scientific statement of being when I brush my teeth or think about them. She also said, remember, your substance is in spirit, not in matter. And spirit can never be subject to decay or discord. Almost 1.5 years later, I asked the dentist to take a look at it and take an X-ray. Then he said that all looks good and that the crown could last for another 2 to 5 years. That was last August, and I gave a testimony about it. A few weeks ago now, I had a regular checkup with the dentist. He did ask me if there were any concerns. I said no. He said, you never seem to have anything. I nodded and smiled. After checking my teeth visibly and with the X-ray, he said all looks good. I reminded him about the crown, and he looked at it, and this time he said, this doesn't concern me at all. What a change from the beginning, 2.5 years ago. And I thought, what can God not do? I'm so grateful to have been led to Christian Science, which changed the way I look at and think about my body. I am grateful to my practitioner for helping me to look away from the material picture presented by mortal sense and to look to spirit that never is subject to decay or discord. And I thank you, Greg, for the readings tonight. And I especially like where you read that the claims we experience are not human, but divine, and that we have the ability to meet them from God. That really touched me tonight, and thank you very much for that. Have a good night.
Thank you. Debbie from Illinois, go ahead.
Thank you. Last night, the pain in my hips was very strong and continued through the night into the morning. I was listening to our Wednesday evening testimony meetings while trying to know the truth. I was not, however, knowing the truth. I was mesmerized listening to error. I got up and cried out saying, I don't want to be in pain anymore. The next testimony was about being grateful to God for the life He has. That really hit home. The blessings in my life have been overflowing. My increased ability to hear God's voice and obey, my increased ability to identify error and deny its claim, the sale of a house, the replacement of my roof, increased social activities, financial security, answers to every question that comes up, and on and on and on. This broke some of the mesmerism. God also led me to make a change on my thermostat that corrected a situation that was taking my joy and making me believe that God does not supply every answer. Wow. I now see that this was a little error that I was giving power to, making a God, instead of relying on the one and only real God. A tailor-made error coming to me for the only life it has, and I was giving it that life. Thank you, Father, for this trial, lesson, and answer. The claim of pain is also an error that I am giving power to, making a God, instead of relying on the one and only real God. Mortal mind is pounding me with the lie that I do not understand my real identity as God's image and likeness. The truth that I am immortal, eternal, perfect, harmonious now. This is who I am now. I am that I am. So many, many truths that all apply to me. I am very grateful for moving forward. Now I am the child of God. Now I am out of this Adam dream. Now I am perfect in God. Hold my hand, Father, lift me up. Lead me in every moment to do your will. I am grateful for the spiritualization, and this is all I need, to be nearer, my God, to thee. Thank you.
Thank you. Craig.
So thanks to Mary Baker Eddy and all her writings were lived by her. She put them down. And I'm so glad that I learned to have backbone. Nobody wants to go through bad experiences, but prior to being a member, becoming Christian Science and a member here, if it happened, something wasn't right, whether it would be sickness or some event that just shouldn't have happened. It wasn't a bad situation. It wasn't a good situation. That I would just be stuck and just have to just basically work through it, live through it. But when I realized one day that, as it says, omnipotence, God, he's always there and he has all power, that you have a recourse. You don't have to, or nobody has to, or you don't have to accept for other people a bad situation. And the practitioners teach and lead us as we learn more how to stand on our own. It's wonderful. And part of that I realize is to learn what consecration is, to have only one God. As this is the first commandment. And it's so easy, but it takes courage to stick with it. And it's right. And then I find so much other good spiritual thoughts flow from that. That if you do that, God will teach you Christian Science and divine science, and he will guide you and use you for good. I had an aunt who was just a love. And when something bad happened to her, she was found in her bathroom and couldn't see. She was paralyzed. But at the time I had learned about Christian Science, and I got support from our practitioner, and I went to New York City to see her. And, by then it was clear. Now, these things are not from God, and nobody has to have them. So I sang 324, take my life and let it be consecrated, Lord, to thee, to her. For every time I saw her, maybe once, maybe twice a week, for a couple of weeks, and her eyesight came back. And she was the happiest person in the world. It was just an indication of how much love God has and how powerful truth is. And it's tremendous how God works as us. And it's just tremendous by each one. They don't have to have bad situations. And if it, thank you.
Thank you. Florence from Georgia, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Craig, for the readings. And I must say, the theme, omnipotence has all power, and to acknowledge any other powers to dishonor God has been one of my favorite Mary Baker Eddy statements, because it has helped me to be mindful not to deny or dishonor God by knowing that God is all in all and that he does rule his world at all times. No matter what the mortal sense screaming is, I know that he has all power. And I'm very happy to learn and use this truth every time error tries. this knowing and living it has helped me tremendously. I just want to express my gratitude for all that Mary Baker Eddy has given to mankind. And I wish that whatever I am to do, or all of us are to do individually to bless mankind, we also have the ability to do it through Christ our Lord. I'm very grateful for all the testimonies so far and for this whole meeting, because really to honor God, to know that He has all the power there is, it really keeps you on the right track. I'm happy to be here tonight.
Thank you. Mary.
Good evening. I just have a couple things to read tonight. First from Pennsylvania. In the 80s, when starting a temporary job as a department secretary, one of the department employees took an immediate dislike of me. She began saying very loudly whenever near my desk. She would name my name, and then she would say, "is a terrible secretary." This continued for about 2 months. I was certainly praying probably to see her as a child of God, certainly to love her. The offices were open cubicle style, and one day as I was standing up, filing, I saw her coming down the aisle facing me, and beautifully, in a sense of pure love for her just swept over me. Nothing was said, but after that there was no more announcing that I was a terrible secretary. She didn't like me, but soon after, a friendly, supportive relationship unfolded naturally. In fact, she became a strong vocal supporter for the rest of the year I was there. It is a comforting and encouraging demonstration of God's power and love to remember. Thank you, Plainfield, for encouraging us to remember and to be grateful for past healing experiences. And thank you, God, for this lovely healing. And then someone fairly new from Texas. Hello, my brothers and sisters in Plainfield, New Jersey. What a blessing you are. I'm forever thankful for being led to your wonderful church and website. Only Christ Jesus gets the glory for how all that happened. I could have just as easily checked on the Mother Church in Boston, but did not. And I really do not know why I didn't, but I clicked on yours instead, and have been listening ever since, with not even the slightest desire to even listen to them. God works in mysterious ways. I'm so thankful for Him leading me here. I've always been a stickler for the truth, and you all have a special way about how you bring it and teach it. And I want to thank you all for all your dedication. God bless you all. I'm still listening and always will be. From Texas. So always so glad to hear from everyone around our nation and world. And I too thank Craig for those wonderful readings. I love the new birth. I love where Mrs. Eddy says we have to give up all our material thoughts and what we've been educated. Terra Medica, hygiene is worse than useless to sit at the feet of Jesus. It's wonderful counsel. So grateful to be here tonight. Thank you all for your testimonies, and have a good night.
Thank you.